Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to add my voice to what Senator Langford just said. You know, it's got to mean something, and it can't just be, oh, you flew a lot of miles and nothing bad happened on that plane, so now we're going to hand you the pass. We've got to actually know who we're dealing with. And so I want to add my voice to what I surely hope has been the sense of the committee here, that how grateful we are that you're stepping up to take on this enormous challenge. You know, I think too often we don't say thank you to the folks who go through what is sometimes a very onerous and difficult process, but we are extraordinarily grateful, and we find that more and more people who put on the uniform of our country in our armed services and serving us tend to step up and continue their service. And so thank you so much, Admiral, for what you're doing and that your willingness to take this on. We are excited, at least I am excited, about the changes that I know you're going to make and the things you're going to do, having been in such important leadership positions in the past. The one thing I do want to talk about is something that Senator Langford and I have focused a lot on in our subcommittee, which is how do you engage everyone, regardless of whether they are, you know, the person collecting the trays at the end of the scanning line to the person at the very top. How do you engage them in the overall overarching mission so they have a sense of purpose and they have a sense of what they're doing every day? What strategies do you think you can deploy to improve morale by giving people a sense of importance?
Well, as I talked about in my opening statement, the need to look at the way in which, first of all, what do we teach people when they come into the organization? You know, how are they, but, you know, I think back to my experience coming into the Coast Guard, and there's you're taught the base culture of the organization. Mm-hmm. And in our case, you know, everyone's read this wonderful letter that came from the first Treasury Secretary, Alexander Hamilton, and it was his first instructions to the very first 10 commanding officers of the Revenue Cutter Service, which was the precursor to the United States Coast Guard. And this was a challenging mission because they were told to go do something that had never been done before, which is to collect tariffs from merchant vessels trading with the brand new United States of America. Something the merchant vessels were not real pleased about and did not really want to encounter this new government attempting to exert its power. And so in the process of writing this letter, he lays out all their requirements and their duties and obligations and the laws that they have and the expectations. But he says something very interesting in the letter, and it's the thing that begins this cultural indoctrination in the Coast Guard. And he says, always keep in mind that your countrymen are free men and as such are impatient of everything that bears the least mark of a domineering spirit. And that's a wonderful line. I mean, it's wonderful 18th century prose, and it goes on and on. The letter's, you know, multiple pages long, but that one line is repeated over and over and over again throughout your career in the Coast Guard. We use it when we advance people in rank. We use it when we promote them in rank. We use it when they swear in a new oath of office, and remind them that you're going to do things that by nature interfere with the free movement of people. And sometimes you're going to do things that interfere with their individual rights because they would like to go do something and you're going to get in their way. You don't have to do that in a way that offends them, and you don't have to do that in a way that doesn't respect them. So I think, how does TSA do that? This is one of the things I'd like to examine is what is the way in which TSA indoctrinates, provides a culture. There's a TSA Academy. I don't know how well attended it is. I'd like to look at that opportunity. And then over time, what are the ways in which you can continue to engage with the workforce? We live in an age in which it's very easy to communicate with people. I don't accept the premise that because you have a widely dispersed and geographically distributed workforce that you can't find a way to talk to them. We do this all the time. I mean, I have a widely dispersed and geographically distributed workforce that works in small unit teams. I can't touch every single member of the Coast Guard every day, but I can assure myself that they're plugged into the organization. So I want to look for ways to do that if confirmed in the TSA. I want to find a way to connect leadership to the frontline operation. My experience, one of the other big factors of morale is how distant is your leadership from the actual people doing the work. You know, I don't do the work of the Coast Guard anymore. I have, the Coast Guard does that work, those frontline men and women out there. So how do they know that I've got their back, and how do they know that I'm paying attention to them, that I'm providing them with the tools and the training that they need if I don't listen to them, and if I don't find a way to engage with them? So those are the things I think about as I look to connecting with the workforce, to listening to what they have to say, to learning from them. I meant what I said in my opening statement, that I have learned about duty to people. I've learned about commitment to excellence. I've learned about service to this nation from the people who are doing that on a daily basis. I continue to learn today. I'm always astonished at the new things I learn about those things.
Well, I know it's been said already here, but I think improving the morale of TSA, reducing the turnover, you really having an appreciation by everyone how important their work is and how much their country's counting on them. And as we saw in California, their work can be dangerous. Really and they need to be appreciated for that, for standing on the front line, trying to stop, being that visible signal. The other thing I would say that the public gets frustrated with is when they don't see value added to some of the things that TSA does. They go, well, why would we need to do that? And why would we need to do this? And I think it's really important that your communication, as you're focusing on communicating why they need to do that, is also turning it outward and talking about the challenges that you have so that people who are like us, who are at airports all the time, better understand what that goal is. And so I would just offer that suggestion that communication not just be internal, that we spend a lot of time talking to the traveling public about the importance of what you do. I just think we have great hope for you. And if there's something that we can do and ideas that you have where laws restrict you, I hope that you come back to this committee, come back to us individually and say, this is something that makes no sense. Please change it.
Thank you, Senator. I will do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.